Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm back with Nidhi today. So, Nidhi is a plant-based nutritionist, strength coach, yoga trainer, and a YouTuber. So, thank you very, very much, Nidhi, for joining in. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to have you. Thank you very much again.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, Nidhi. Yeah, before we get into any kind of discussion or anything, it would be great if you could introduce yourself, what you do, and all about your work. That would be wonderful.
Oh, okay. I generally kind of hate this part, but it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I am Nidhi Mohan Kamal. I'm a nutritionist. I am vegan myself. I've been plant-based for almost 5 years plus now. I'm also a fitness trainer and a certified yoga trainer. Um, I run a company which is by the name of Nits and Wellness for the last 12 years. We've been in the business for more than a decade, and yeah, with fitness training, my experience has been almost 2 decades, say about 18 years. So yeah, that's all about me.
Great, thank you. So, Nidhi, I just would like to go into things by one into about your startup and then about plant-based stuff and all those things. So, what was your first click up or thing that said, "Ki I must," I don't know how would you take that, or would you call yourself a vegan or a plant-based? I'm not sure about that. But how what did help you, or what did it make you realize that I must go plant-based and try the diet or lifestyle or whatever you'd like to call it?
Okay, so just to give you a little bit of perspective and background, I've never been a meat eater. Primarily because I just couldn't take it. I just never liked the idea of consuming a living being. So even though there were people in the family, though I don't come from a background where it's anything religious not to consume. Everyone in the family is kind of okay with it, barring my mother. Everyone also used to consume. So, but I've never been comfortable with the idea. Somehow, when I was a kid also, जब भी मुझे कोई फोर्स भी करता था चिकन खाने के लिए, जो एक दो बार हुआ, मुझे हमेशा ऐसा लगता था मैंने कुछ जिंदा खा लिया, and I would always feel unsettled in my soul. So, like how I relate when I was a kid was, मैंने किसी का भाई या मम्मी या पापा खा लिए. That's how my childhood brain used to relate to things. I never looked at so I know I come from an technical background, so and also bio and technical background, so both medical and technical kind of merged together in my field, so to speak. So what happened is that in my head I started viewing eggs as not cruel, because I mean I knew technically they're unfertilized, so I used to be like, oh, they're not living beings. But I never saw the aspect of torture in milk or in eggs till very recently, when I came across a lot of content or how things are produced. And then that's where I started questioning things. I don't really remember what exactly I saw, but this plant-based thing was kind of attracting me because I wanted to quit. And I know from my nutritionist background and 12 years of being in the business where I am kind of helping people not just lose weight. Like weight loss is like one byproduct, but then people have PCOD, people have thyroid issues which are escalating, hormone issues are escalating. And I could see the trend is towards dairy. And all these things are very concentrated in North India, and we're also the largest consumers of dairy. So I saw that there was a very direct correlation between consuming all this dairy and even eggs and meat and people's health problems. So that's where I think the concept started to develop. Where that's where I started to like kind of question it, and started to explore options which are more plant based. And of course now the world is very aware, and last 5 years have been a sea change. At the time that I did turn vegan, there were no vegan options. Nobody would understand what it is. And now, 5 years down the line, things are way better, and people have accepted it. And thanks to all these documentaries that were made about plant-based lifestyle and how it's good long term, people have widely accepted it. So how I look at it from an Ayurveda, so I am coming from a background which is scientific, and then moving into the space which is spiritual and Ayurveda and yoga. So Ayurveda and yoga are not the same things, but they're sisters, right? So there are a lot of correlations between the two also. And then in yoga and Ayurveda, there's a concept of sattvic, tamasic, and rajasic. So if you look at sattvic food, there is a reason why you would always say that you consume sattvic when you're on, your meditation spree, or when you're in your sadhana. You're always doing, sattvic. And there is a clear definition of how you describe milk in sattvic. It needs to come from an animal raised with love. But if it's coming from a farm or coming from somewhere where the cattle is tortured, I can 100% assure you that milk is also tamasic. So that I believe that, if you have to live a lifestyle where you not control your mind, but stay peaceful within yourself, enjoy life, then I think this seemed to be like the best option.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
beautiful.
was a really long answer.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that's a beautiful way you explained it, and took us through that. Um, I turned newly vegan. Not really new, but just been a year. I explored it. I understood about it. I got to know more about it. You said when 5 years ago when you went vegan, what differences do you see? How things have changed? Um, yeah.
I think generally the first thing is that there is a lot of acceptance for what I do. And I remember like 5 years ago, everyone would ask me this question, कि क्यों नहीं पीना? Like if I'd say to someone that somebody's making chai and I'd be like, मेरे लिए बिना दूध की बना दो, then they would be like, क्यों नहीं पीना? And then the next question is, तुम इतने पतले हो because तुम दूध नहीं पीते. So and then they would be like, oh, you, and at any point in time, see, I'm a human being. At the end of the day, there are days when my immunity does go down, I fall sick, and every time I would fall sick, I would hear it from everyone in, even within the family and relatives, that this is because you don't have milk, this is because you're weak. So this used to happen a lot, but now I see that there is so much acceptance for what I do. Like I recently moved my house. This is a new setup, and so I don't know a lot of neighbors, so I made friends with a couple which is very elderly. They're my parents' age, and very unconventional sort of a couple. And then to them also, the first day I went in and I said, "Auntie, मैं vegan हूँ." तो अब when I go to their place, auntie knows and she accepts it. उन्होंने एक बारी मुझसे question ही पूछा, and if they have something or somebody else coming in their house, I'm just saying this is a very good example. If somebody else has come to their house and they are enjoying something which is like milk or something else, she would just put her hand out and say, "उसको मत दो, वो vegan है." So like 100% total acceptance of who I am without any questions asked, and I think this is the power of awareness in social media, that people are now 100% accept. I don't hear it. I do hear it sometimes for people who work in my house, probably the maids or the cooks. They sometimes come and say, "Oh, दीदी आप इतने पतले हो इसीलिए क्योंकि आप खाते नहीं हो." But I can understand कि वहां तक vegan बोलना बहुत मुश्किल है, लेकिन आम जनता understands that's enough. It will take a little more time for masses to understand that.
Yeah, I think the biggest achievement of today is that we are able to reach the message to the middle class, upper middle class, or the middle class families, and the
Yeah,
upper.
yeah,
So which makes it easy, and maybe very soon we'll it go to masses for sure.
yeah.
So some which will bring which brings me to the next question, Nidhi, is how did things change for you? How did your body change, and how did your body react to it? Of course, you said some. Of course, we are human being. We change, and we also get sick and all those stuff. But other
Yeah.
than that, other than what differences did you see in your body?
I don't think I saw any negatives for sure. I will be honest, I did struggle for a few years to find options to eat outside. So there was a time when I could not eat outside. Like I was sticking to home cooked food, which in a way was good. I still consider it a blessing, because when I go out in a restaurant, there are no vegan desserts, then I end up not having it, and which is good anyways.
Yeah.
So वो ऐसे होता है ना कि आप व्रत भी रखते हो कभी, तो अगर व्रत वाले दिन आपको कोई बेस्ट चीज भी मिल जाए, आपको लालच नहीं होता.
Huh.
That is your devotion towards what you do. And I think the same thing applies here also. I don't get tempted buy anything that is milk based or with something that I can't have, because it's in my brain. It's like it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I mean, I don't even go there. So yeah, initially I think the biggest challenge was to eat out, but I don't think that's a problem anymore. Again, still I sometimes feel when I'm traveling, which thankfully hasn't happened in more than a year now, but when I was used to travel, there were a few countries that were not very vegan friendly. But barring that, I think the world is becoming a very, very acceptable place for plant-based.
Mhm, mhm. Great, great. So, this, you said, of course, you are a nutritionist, and then you run a business which helps people get fitter and all about fitness and all about that. So, what were some kind of problems in your mind when you thought about it, when you gave a thought? Of course, you said that you always wanted to, you did never liked meat or eating a living being. But Kivo, you have that key, the study you have, because I think there are very less things where they teach about plant-based, even to doctors and nutritionists, if I'm not wrong, nutritionists. uh, they give very few importance to plant-based diets, and the things they teach is very few about it. So my question to you is, well, key, when you thought about it, what was your nutritionist side of Nidhi was telling you?
Um, I would say that so I have the statement that you just said right now. I have two things to say here. Firstly, I've heard from a few nutritionists in the past, or few, I'd say, plant-based people also in the past, that doctors know as little about nutrition as much as accountants do, something like that. This is a very famous statement from a very famous nutritionist in a book, in a very popular book. And I somehow find this statement to be very demeaning to the whole medical fraternity. Now, they nutrition is, in the way it's taught, is not, and I'll be honest that it's not, preventive nutrition is not very it's not a part of any curriculum,
Mhm.
unfortunately. When I say preventive nutrition, I'd say things you can get naturally. See, any study that is done, and before I even give you an answer, I have to tell you, one has to like broaden your horizon, and you have to have a bird's eye view of how the whole world works financially, and then a few things will make sense. Like if we do a bird's eye view of, firstly, um, who does the studies, right? So we have to understand that a lot of nutrition studies and a lot of things, or a lot of researches that come out, are funded. They are funded by somebody who's a benefactor to that research. So I am not 100% sure if all those researchers which have a benefactor backing them up with funds will not have the outcome which works well for a certain people. Just to give you a perspective, that there was a time when we were made to believe that protein deficiency is a thing, right? Human beings, now I come from a food scientist background, so I have studied how you manufacture food, like in bulk. So if I look at that, let me just start with the very basic, or the first product that was ever bulk manufactured, and that is bread. How conventionally bread used to be made was, we used to make either Irish bread or used to make sourdough bread, which is, you can do that in at home. It doesn't need a yeast culture. You develop the culture at home. You make it with whole wheat. The bread has a shelf life of maybe 24 hours, 48 hours. It's hard. It's hard to chew. For a sourdough bread, you have to like soak the sourdough in bread in something and have it. Now I'm talking about the real sourdough bread and not the fake one that you get in the market. Then somebody figured that when you mill um, the wheat and you use the finest of the flour, and then you make a bread out of it, the bread is softer, lasts longer, and whatever the rest of the germ and the other stuff is, that can be used as scattered field, right? This is a real story. You can Google it. And I think Pillsbury, I don't want to name the brand, but I think Pillsbury was the first brand which started manufacturing maida, or plain flour as we know it. So then they started doing this bread, and bread became, because it was so easy to make, because it was not getting spoiled easily, and it was so soft and so easy to manufacture. Then your commercial bread became the staple food, and then we started to have the first deficiencies. That is then when the word deficiency was coined. And then instead of fixing the bread, what happened is we started doing fortified bread. So,
Mm.
so yeah, so then became vitamin infused bread, right? So if I cut it down, I think it's like one person already spent a lot of money to make it, and then somebody found a fault, and then they spend a lot of money to fix it. But it do you even think about it, just doesn't even make. This is when vitamins were discovered, right? And then suddenly the supplement industry came in. The same thing goes today for nutraceutical industry. And I've gotten a lot of backlash from a lot of people, including a lot of vegans, for out loudly saying that you don't need supplements. Now I'll come back to the statement where you said doctors don't know much. See, the way conventionally books are written about nutrition, this knowledge has not been updated in books, and I would agree. When you were a kid, I was a kid, when you used to study what is the best source of protein, there used to be a picture in the fourth standard book which was fish, meat, two eggs, fish lying like that, two eggs, and then two milk bottles. So that is the picture you have, right? Nobody taught us that there are other sources of protein, and the same goes for every kind of books. Now, I'm not going to restrict this to doctors. I would say nutritionists, MSc, BSc, dietetics, every book says the same thing. So, this statement that doctors know little about nutrition than like the same thing as an accountant does is also wrong. Now, when it comes to supplements, nutraceuticals, anything that your body is taking from outside that interferes with the metabolism and the functioning of the body needs to be prescription. I will say that again. If there is a supplement, it needs to be prescribed by a doctor and not a nutritionist, because see, everything, even water soluble vitamins, they can be washed out of the body, yes, but they have toxicity. So they can't, you know, there is a level to which toxicity can happen, but they all have side effects,
Mhm, mhm,
including things like B12. Now, everyone says B12, is deficient in vegans, they don't have it, and you should be taking a supplement. Now, B12 supplementation can give you real anxiety. It has side effects which include diarrhea, anxiety, vomiting. Now, that's why when you have to take a supplement, you have to visit a doctor, because they might not know nutrition, but they know body's physiology better than a nutritionist does.
mhm,
So, if I have to look at the sum total of things, everyone needs to upgrade their knowledge, yes, but I also feel that we need to go back a little bit. I think what for me, I think I would say upgrade your knowledge, fine, but I think go back 150 years ago. Because 150 years ago, people were not dying of lifestyle disorders. 150 years ago, people were dying of other things like war, like disease. We didn't have antibiotics. We did not have antifungal. People would die of plague. A simple thing like, Heza is nothing. It's like the commonest food poisoning, slash bacterial infection, but people would die of that. And, whole community would die of that. So one has to understand that you have to think of food like human beings have thought before industrial revolution. And that I think solves so much of your nutritional problems also. Again, I think I gave a very long answer.
No, no worries, no worries. But I think you took it deep, and you really gave made me understand very well about it. And I didn't know and had no idea about this. I never had heard anybody speaking about this. Thank you very much for bringing it to the attention of the people who are listening here. And Nidhi, the next question I would like to put here is, when we what is right right kind of nutrition? What is, we speak about nutrition, we speak about, of course, as you said, everybody funds and research, and then they take the, key, what they like is, they get the answer for and benefits of it.
Mhm.
So my
Yeah.
question to you would be, is then it could be
What
same
is the best?
plant-based guys, it could be same with the plant-based guys, it could be same with the fish guys and the meat guys and the milk guys. So whom do we believe, and how do we understand the what's right and what's wrong?
Everyone is their own judge. I don't think I can give that answer that, who's right and who's wrong. And again, every body is different, every physiology is different. Each person's hormonal setup, enzymatic setup, digestion is completely different from another person. Conventionally in Ayurveda, we do things as per somebody else's dosha. That's also a concept. But in yoga, in the language of yoga and Ayurveda, we say, what should you be consuming as a human being? Uh, a very balanced way of life is looking at whatever you can produce within the circumference of the distance you can walk. If that makes sense. So if you can walk, say, 20 kilometers a day, to that 20 kilometers circumference, whatever can grow in 40 kilometers from your circumference is what you should be eating. So that means something that's grown native to you, to where you live. But again, these things you have to understand, they changed a little bit because we now we have quicker means of transport, so we moved, right? But climatically, there are certain things which suit a certain climate and which doesn't suit another. So if I'm sitting in a cold country and I'm consuming something that's very heavy in terms of, too much and very rich in, um, say a lot of fat in it, yeah, or a lot of very thick concentrated protein in it, it does make sense. Now the same thing when I come down to a tropical environment where things have to be like light, suddenly just compare diets of North India and South India. North Indian diet, when it is winter, you suddenly have things which are very heavy, like saag, makki ki roti. These are conventional foods, right? And suddenly when you go to South India, all throughout the year they're consuming very light foods, which is like dosa, idli, sambar. Sambar is also dal. That same arhar dal is made a little different in north, made a little different in West Bengal, and made a little different down south. Now these are adjusted to, if you really go into the science of every component that is put in that very basic dal, these are all adjusted to the climate that where it's made.
Okay.
So somewhere, if you can find a balance with what is local to you, what is native to you, and try to make it staple, I think there's a highly unlikely you'll get sick or have issues with immunity or whatever. But digestion is a whole new, like, it's a very wide topic altogether, and it varies so much from person to person. So somewhere you do need a nutritionist in your life so that they can guide you better in terms of what works well for you. But there, nobody in this world can give you one size fit all plan that will work for everybody. But if I have to give you a generalized statement, you have to eat something that's native to you and that is in season right now. So if I'm sitting right now and I'm ordering California apples for myself, which are like $400 a kilo, I am just simply burning money. That is not going to give me the nutrition I want. Probably I should go and have, 90 rupees kg mango from the mandi.
Okay.
That is what I should be consuming.
Okay, so you meant that we must consume what is grown in the place, or the in the city, or in the area, or in the surrounding where we live. That's what you meant, right?
Region. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay. So I
yeah.
think, yeah, it's very beautiful. I think food, as a topic, is very deep and very interesting, and yeah, the way it varies, it's wonderful. Nidhi, it's really great, 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 and I'm grateful to you that you're sharing these things with me. Just some more questions, and then I won't take some
My pleasure.
more time. I won't take more time of you, but some more questions I would like to ask is, if you could,
Sure.
help us know more about your company, what you do there. what was the basic idea that you started your company all about? That would be great.
So we do, besides nutrition, like which obviously now is online, uh, considering COVID. We do, so basically, this Knits and Wellness does a host of things. We specialize in weight loss, and our diets include therapeutic diets, which could be specific to PCOS and PCOS, thyroid, and diabetes, or any of the lifestyle disorders, prenatal, postnatal, all those things we take care of in terms of diet, therapeutic. We specialize in weight loss and body shaping. Now, there is a need for, now, when you look at this industry where body shaping, um, first, there's this whole aspect of, again, accepting your body the way it is, yes, but then there are people who cannot lose from a specific area. Then the only option left for them was conventionally to go under the knife and get surgically, liposuction or something done. So this is like 10 years ago when we wanted to figure out a solution that could be non-invasive. Because what is the worst thing that can happen, when you go under the knife? You can die on the table, right? Either as minimum as an anesthesia can have a bad reaction and you can die. So, and we know of somebody who has died of a cardiac arrest because they went for a liposuction. The doctor wasn't aware that they've had a bypass surgery a few years ago and they're on blood thinners. There was a complication that happened from that surgery, and the next day he was no more. And the person was just 43. So, this is where we wanted to figure out solutions. And we came up with a few technologies which at the time were not available in India. So, this I'm talking about 2009, we launched ultrasound, which is like fat blasting. Then 2012, we launched fat freezing, which is like freezing the fat pockets of a particular area. These all are FDA approved procedures, and they're non-invasive and very cheap, like 1/5, 1/10 the cost of surgery, and they come with no long-term implications whatsoever, and tropical.
Okay, okay, beautiful. Um, and what were your major learnings in the entrepreneur journey? Learning nutrition and helping people lose their weight and people shape their bodies and all those different stuff. What were your major learnings in 12 years?
I don't think I can put it to words. It's very difficult to sum it all up. But I think it's like a continuous process. And I think you never learn enough in every. This is a very dynamic field, to be honest with you. Every year things change a lot. Scenarios change a lot. And I think even mentality of how people think changes a lot. Um, I don't think I have anything that I can pinpoint and say. I just think that, like in any business or in anything that you do throughout the world in any profession, the day you stop learning is the day your growth is going to stop. So if you have to be in the business, you have to just constantly be growing, in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your leadership skills, and I think that's all the learning. And but in all through 12 years of my experience, I would say one thing for sure. Um, I think when it comes to business, especially, I think it's always like overcommit and underdeliver will not work. Don't make claims that you can't fill up. Always undercommit and overdeliver. And for me, from day one, the success has not been the bottom line or the number in the bank account. It's always been how many people come back, not one single purchase, but how many of them actually came back and took the thing the second time. So I would always give my team also that KRA, that how many people are return of purchases. So I think it's very important that you know how to retain your clients,
Okay, great.
and that's, for me, that's like the biggest win.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
people who were my clients 12 years ago, I still have good terms with them, and some of them are still my clients. You know, things have changed. People have come back. Their lives have changed. We've gone a whole 360 degree and then come back again. So I think that is beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Yeah. So one last question I would like to ask you, Nidhi, for this session is, what would be your message to anybody, maybe let it be nutrition or your entrepreneurship journey or learnings about life or anything? What would be your message to peeps watching this or listening to this?
Okay, I don't think again, I don't think I have words to tell somebody when I have a message or not. I don't know. Um, I definitely would say one thing that don't compare your journey or where you are with somebody else, because everything in this world happens in its own timing. So I think I feel like putting a tattoo somewhere on my body also. In perfect timing, things happen. Uh, and never have that comparison with whatever is happening in your life with somebody else's, because you really don't know what's in store for you. I think the only purpose that you have in life is to figure out why you're here. Yeah, and it's and whenever you have to do something in life, don't look at it like, oh, she's done it, so I'm going to try this, or this person has done it, so I'm going to try that. No, it doesn't matter who's doing what. You have to like keep your focus on what you want. And initially when you're going to start something, a business, or I don't know, your journey towards anything, any profession that you're passionate about, you have to keep money aside or success aside. You have to do it with 100% conviction in your heart, and not think about the results. If they happen, the results are good enough, but you have to enjoy the process also.
Great, great. So thank you again. Thank you very, very much for taking us deep through everything. I think the things I learned about food today was really beautiful, really wonderful. You took me very deep towards it. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your journey. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing everything you shared with us for today's session. Thank you very, very much, Nidhi. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.